In this video, which is part 32 of the Coinmarketcap chart, what we're going to do here is we're going to fix this functionality, or at least this dragging functionality, because we already solved this part and that part. But if I move this here, look at that, absolutely beautiful. Of course, it's not fully working yet, but we have to make sure that this moving the drag zoom box is possible. So let's start to explore how to do this. So now we have everything, and we're going to focus now on part 32 of the Coinmarketcap series. And the focus here is specifically on this item here, because we already have this draggable function. But if I click here, you can see nothing happens. What I want to do is I want to make sure that we can drag this to the left or to the right, and eventually I want to show this here matching. However, first of all, let's make this draggable. So we're going to scroll down all the way to the bottom, and then somewhere else probably in the zoom box functionality, we're able to do that. Let's see here, that is the drag start. That's basically this functionality, that's the one I want. The drag start is very important for us. So you can see here we have the drag offset and we have the other drag related item. And what this really does is basically these two, where one is for the button of the left side, the other one is for the button on the right side. Now what I want to do is basically we're going to make imaginary center button, which will cover from this point all the way here to there, but not beyond here where the mouse cursor changes. So only this one here, and we can drag this exactly the same as the Coinmarketcap. To do that, first of all, I need to make sure it understands that we have this if statement where it will right now only triggers one or the other. And now I want to make another if statement where it will understand if we trigger the center. So in here, I'm going to look at where this if statement curly braces ends. So I'm going to scroll down here. You can see that's here. Enter, enter. And then I'm going to create another if statement. And in this if statement, what I want to do here is I need to grab here basically the drag offset. Basically this entire item, I'll just copy this entirely. And then after we're going to fine tune it. And I guess this could be even copied all together. So I'm going to put that in here. And once I did this, we have this here. And of course we need to make sure we have a curly braces here for the closing of the if statement. And then here, what I want to do is I want to adjust this. So what I'm going to say here is if this will be larger than, we have here the max value, but I don't want the max value. I want to have the min value, whatever the min value would be. And then we say plus 10 pixels. So it should be larger than that. Or maybe let's say 11 pixels. So I'm going to say here with plus, and this will be larger than the min value. And the drag offset should also be if it's max, but then instead of plus, I'm going to say minus 11. And if we do this, well, let's see here, we have that, and it should be smaller than. What we were doing is basically, if I refresh here, starting from here and starting from there. So now we have this, and then what I want to do here, you can see here we have the canvas drag move, and I realize we have a lot of functions with the same name, and that's basically not really recommended. But anyway, I will leave it for now. But what I want to do here is I'm going to say drag move center. So basically this will be functionality in the center. So in here, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give this here a function name, which is the drag move center. And a drag move center will have almost same items here. Basically just the same item. Let's copy everything here, all the parameters, and we say drag move center. Closing parentheses there. Alright, so now we have this here, and what I want to do now, just for the sake of it, just say console log and just say here hello or center. So we know that we are dragging now the center instead of anywhere else. So if I refresh, open up developer tab. Oh, sorry, that is not what I wanted. So open up developer tab, and then if I do this, look at that. There we are. As you can see here, it drags it nicely. So this is beautiful because it now recognizes. And if I open up here, you can see here, if I do this, this recognizes, but if I click here, there's no center at all. So this means it is recognizing our center movement. So now we have this validated, we can start to work on creating the item. And this one is very, very tricky, so make sure you pay attention here. So what I'm going to do here is, First of all, what we need to know is the starting point of the drag. Just imagine this. If I drag here, whatever here is, I need to know what's the index number of this. And then as I move to the left side or to the right side, I need to know the amount of differences we have. So if we're going down here to the right side, and if our starting point is say 100, and we go to the right, and then we are ending on 90, that will mean that our scrolling of this, basically, or this part here, should move with 10 values, or 10 index minus 10 basically. So this is very important. So I hope you understand that logic, which makes sense, because basically we're doing the same here, but now in this case, this and this, or the range of it, should be identical, but the movement needs to be recalculated in a different manner. So to do that, I need to know what is my starting point. So what is the starting point here? Well, for that, we don't need this here, but we're going up here. I'm going to search for specifically, let's see here, the drag start drag, which basically tells us immediately, which is this one here, the drag.offset x. This is basically the reference to this here, tells us our starting drag point. So I'm going to say a constant, and what we can say here is our drag starting point equals this. Oh, equals this. There we are. So once we have that one, what we want to do here, of course, this must be converted instead of a item as a what is this? Let me restructure my thoughts. So what it is right now is just a pixel, and I don't want the pixel because I need to convert the pixel to whatever the ID is, or the index number. So for this, what I'm going to say here, first of all, I'm going to say here x.get value for pixel. We put in this, and then we're going to borrow a lot of our existing item here. We can just copy all of that there. Go to semicolon here, paste that in there. Alright, so now we did this. What I want to do here, and you will see that this is just the same thing what we did previously. We can use here the timestamp, but it's basically the drag starting. Sorry, that's not there, but it should be here. But here we could say, what would be proper name for this? Maybe the day, and then we're going to just copy the drag starting point, which is basically the day or the index or something like that. Doesn't matter. Well, not really the index. I guess it's the day that we get in milliseconds. So we have to reset that back here. Oh, and then we have that point. We can copy this. We're going to put that in here, and then here we have the scroll point. And what I will call this scroll point here, well, we can just, I'll just maintain its scroll point. But what I want, of course, is here, I need to know the difference. So let me show you now what we did, because it might sound all very complicated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this one here, put that in there. I'm going to say, well, I'll leave that in there. And then what I want to do, just for the sake of it, hide as many console logs we have, just to avoid all the confusion. Because if we have too many of this data, we just get confused. So I removed 2 of those, refresh. And if you have more of them, try to remove them. It will be easier for you to follow along. So then we're going to say here, and let me just refresh here what happened here. Alright, interesting. So that's fine again. You can see here, if I move this is all fine. Let's refresh. What I'm going to do, I move this, move that, and then I'm going to grab here in the center somewhere. And as I move, you can see here, we see center, and we get the number here, and we get the pixel amount. So that is fine, or this is the milliseconds, but I need to get the official value, so that is, I guess, the scroll point here. We just put it in there. So that makes sense. So what I want to do then, let's save that, do that again, put it in here, move this, and we always see here now, apparently, right now, wherever I click, somewhere in the center here, we should be close to 100. And you can see here, 94. That's the index number. And you can see as I move, the index number is very consistent. It doesn't move anymore. This is very important, because this will say this is our starting point. So now we have our starting point here. And so that's the first part of the logic. The next part of it is, of course, to calculate the diff. So what I'm going to say here, let's say here, difference. Basically, I'm calling it diff, but it's difference. That's the right term, because you might get confused of a diff tag. But anyway, it's a difference. So what we're going to do here is, let me just say here, starting point, and now we have the difference. So what I want to do now for this, we're going to do exactly the same as previously, except now we have the drag delta in here, because this one here just grabs us the starting point, and then here we'll calculate the movement. So what we could do, maybe I'll just grab this one again here. I guess this is fine to do it. I'll just copy this because it's all identical now, because this is the drag delta. So we have here scroll point, so I suggest here to at least give it a different name, and maybe this scroll point here, let's say here not scroll point, this would be the drag starting point, let's say starting point. I'll just make it starting point index, so we know what we're talking about. So this is starting point index. So if I do that one here, we get this, and we will console log of our scroll point. We should see now two differences here. Save this, refresh. So now if I move, you can see here one is consistent, the other indicates the movement. Apparently right now, as I move, we are moving now 9 index points here. And you can see here, and eventually here we have 10 index points we're moving. That difference must be calculated so we can eventually calculate the movement here. This is very, very crucial. So what I'm going to do here now is to say constant, and we can say here the difference, or maybe the delta. I will not use drag delta right now, I'll just call it difference, because we have already these names here. But I probably would recommend a proper naming, and I'm afraid that I have a lot of different names here. That can create confusion. Anyway, that is for refactoring in the future, doesn't matter now. So what we're going to do now is, I want to calculate the scroll point. So the difference would be the scroll point minus the drag start, or basically here what is it, the starting point index, and maybe we can just call that the drag start. I like that name a bit more, so I'm going to say it's drag start, very simple, minus that. So then if I save this, and as we do this, because we do a minus here, it will calculate always the difference in both ways. So now if I drag this and then go down, oh of course, sorry, I forgot to do a console log, and then here difference, save, refresh. Now if I move, you can see here apparently we're moving here minus 20, and what that really means is later on the minimum value, and then we deduct it by this value here, or deduct, we say plus minus 22, because double minus is a plus value. So that's why we don't want to do that. Of course we just say plus whatever it is. But if I go to the right side, I'm increasing the value, and it looks here and works nicely. So we have this. So this is already a confirmation for us that it works. So now let's put this into action here. So what I need to do here, and I'm going to use again our own min and max items here. So we have really many of these, so forgive me, but that's alright. So what I'm going to say here, I'm going to say here now very simply, we're going to grab here the min value, a constant, and we're going to call this min chart. Just the same meaning, because basically it has the same meaning. It's just we are using it many times. And then what we're going to say here, the dates will be the index of dates dot index of, and then here, because we need to get the number here, and we're going to get the number here, which would be my chart.config, because we're going to grab it from chart 1. My chart.config options scales x min, and then remember we're going to say plus whatever the difference is. It would be a positive or negative, doesn't matter. So that's number one. The second one I want is exactly the same, except one exception here. Put that in there. I'm going to say here max, and most likely we need to create a let, because I think this one should be let as well, because we might readjust it if ever something would happen later on. I will show you why. So we have this here now. So if this is the case, we're going to say that, and then what I'm going to say here is very simple, my chart. I think we can even copy everything here above. I'm going to copy all of this here above, put it in here again, and then once we did that, what I want to do now is we're going to say here min chart 1 is this, and max chart1 equals that one here. So we have this, and this here, we copied this, but I guess this one was not necessary to copy. We only need to update. Only these 3 lines were necessary because we have here the new assignment of these values. Save this. I'm going to refresh. Alright, so let's move this here, and move that here, and then grab this, and look at that. Beautiful. Of course, it doesn't work here, and the reason for this is, well, let me show you. I'm going to show you exactly why, and then after we have to work on, because right now you say, well, hold on, the scales is not changing. That is correct. The scales are not changing yet because we didn't do anything regarding to that yet. That will be next video, by the way. So, what I need to do here is the following. I want to say here, and this is the reason why I put in here let, but let me show you what I'm talking about here. If I do a console.log, and we're going to say here, max chart, you'll see it will become probably a undefined value. Move this, move that, and if I move here, you can look here, you can see here, undefined, and that is, oh sorry, not even in here, but in this one here. So this is 553, no, this is 718, line 718, this is the line. That's our issue. So now, what I want to do, just make sure that this is, instead of undefined, I will make sure it's always a max value, which is our index value. So we're going to say here an if statement, if max chart1 equals strict, oh, undefined is not a string, it's a variable, so it's an undefined, then max chart will be equal to dates index. I'm going to say dates dot length minus 1, getting the very max value. Once you have this, save, refresh, close that, and then move this, move that. As you can see, this works. We move here, here this works, but normally if you look really carefully in the Coinmarketcap, this is basically not how it should be. It should be, once we hit here, it doesn't move anymore. It doesn't allow us anymore to move. So I want to duplicate the exact same functionality. That will be next video, but let's test this one more time. You can see here, this works nicely. Although this makes some sense. If you move like that, then maybe it will get smaller. It might make sense. Anyway, if I move this, and then click here, you can see here right now, it's not working yet because the item is not recognizing yet everything properly. Anyway, this is done. That looks very nice. Next video, fine-tuning this functionality.